Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindho, Dina Bandho Jagatpate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. Jayatam Suruto Pangor, Mama Mandamater Gati, Matsarvasva Padambo Jo Radha Madana Mohano, Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha, Srimad Ratanagar Singhashanasto, Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo, Preshta Libhi Sevyamano Smarami, Shriman Rasarasarambi, Vam Shivata Tatakstitaha, Karshana Venu Swanayar Gopir, Gopinata Shriyestunaha, Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshai, Kshiptascha Kamadi Taranga Madhye, Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna, Vrinde Numaste Charanara Vindam, Vrindai Tulsi Devyai Priyai Keshavasya Cha, Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jai Lalita Saptami Mahamahotsav Titi Ki Jai, Lalita Devi Ki Jai, Ashtashaki Vrinda Ki Jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. I'm not going to be talking that loud all the time. So first of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Ashto Tarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who brought to the whole world the king of all Shastras, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and he opened the door to the ultimate attainment, Krishna Prem, as brought by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into this world, and he gave the foundation through which all Vaishnavas now and for generations and centuries, for thousands of years into the future, they will now be able to attain what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give to all the jivas in this Danya Kali Yuga. Without Srila Prabhupada's coming, no one would know the name of Krishna or Radha or Lalita or any of the eternal associates of the Supreme Lord. So we have to always remember our beloved Srila Prabhupada. He is Guru of all.
Hare Krishna.
So at the same time, I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali unto the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs. Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Ashtotarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. And Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. In this regard of my Siksha Gurus, I have to say, at least from my own personal experience, I did not know, even after many years of trying to become a proper student and disciple of our Srila Prabhupada, when I came to the lotus feet of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, because Srila Prabhupada, he had a particular mission. And of course he invited Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj to continue the teachings. He invited him and wanted him to help his disciples. And he also told that to his senior leading disciples. They should go to him. So Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, I mention this quite often, that the term Radha Dasyam, I had not heard it before. And the first place that I think was where it became more clear to me was in the book of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's discourses on the subject of Guru Tattva, called Sri Guru and His Grace. And in the final chapter there, which is titled The Line of Sri Rupa, there he is pointing out what is our actual aim and object. That is not always so clear in the beginning. And in this lecture, he goes through all different stages of a jiva soul in this world searching, trying to find out what is the ultimate objective, what is the supreme absolute truth. And in that search, there are many stages, but in the very beginning, ultimately, it is Sri Krishna, Bhagavan, who is the goal and the object. So even though that is true, but yet, what is the primary objective? What is the ultimate prayojan tattva that everyone has the opportunity to attain through, in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Radhadasyam.
Yes. Radhadasyam. But first of all, they have to understand which particular camp, which particular group they will be able to find this ultimate attainment. So Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj is very nicely, clearly explaining that as we are searching, we find that our ultimate attainment, our ultimate good fortune, lies in the group of Srimati Radharani. But is that the end of his steering us along, taking us by the hand?
Not at all.
Not at all. What comes after that? Even in the group of Sri Radha, there is another specific place that ultimately we will have to go to. And what is that? The group of Sri Rupa Manjari. In that group, that's why all of our acharyas, they are called the Rupanugas, because they are in that group of Rupa Manjari, who appeared in this world as Rupa Goswami. Rupa Manjari, he is serving the divine couple, she is serving the divine couple in all intimate ways, in the kunjas. But she is also in a gana, in a group. And that group has already been mentioned today very nicely. Radhakanta Prabhu pointed this out and read so many nice statements there. But that group is the group of one of the Ashtasakis. Not all of them. Rupa Manjari is the personal assistant in the group of Lalita Devi. We heard so many beautiful things about Lalita Devi, and it's so attractive topics. But yet, at least I find my limitation of being able to actually appreciate all of these very sweet qualities, characteristics, activities, and so forth. That is my own limitation. But yet, we have to strive in that direction. And our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he opened up this doorway in such a special way. I remember from my association with Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj that one has to come into the association of someone who is actually Vraj Rasik Vaishnava to be able to hear from them. It is not that anyone can just simply read these different statements from the different books, take them out, Radha Krishna Ganodesh Deepika, and all of these different wonderful literatures of the Goswamis. It requires very great qualification. So in the song Gauranga Balite Habe, here Narottam Das Thakur is showing us the sequence from the very beginning. First verse, Gauranga Balite Habe Pulaka Sharira Hari Hari Bolite Na Yane Babenira. This song is so deep. We sing it very often, but we don't deeply pray and meditate and try to bring the moods of Narottam Das Thakur, what he is feeling, into our hearts. I remember when Srila Gurudev came to the West. So right from the very beginning, when he landed in California, he said, "Do you know this song, Gauranga Balite Habe?" And he would ask me sometimes, also others. And I said, "Well, yeah, can you sing it?" "Oh, where's the songbook? Where's the songbook?" And then he said, "You don't know this song by heart? This is so much important. This is the basis. This is the basis of all of Narottam Das Thakur's songs. It is the first introductory song of his book, Prarthana. Oh, you should learn this." So then I sang. Then another time, you should sing Gauranga Balite Habe. And then I realized that I still hadn't memorized it properly. It's not an easy thing unless you've really memorized a song deeply and sung it a number of times to be able to lead that song, especially in the presence of someone like Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. So anyway, I again had to ask, "Do you have a songbook?" And then Gurudev said, "Still, you don't know?" So then I had to learn it. Definitely I had to learn it. So I haven't learned that many songs, but this is one that I knew. I'm going to have to learn this one. But he wanted us to know the deep meanings of this song. There are a number of songs, that he wanted us to know the moods and the deep meaning of this song. So I also examined Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada used to sing this song. And we have recordings of him, very beautiful recordings of Srila Prabhupada singing in his own special melody this song. Gurudev used to say that when our beloved Srila Prabhupada Swamiji, as he would affectionately call him, when he came to Mathura, then he lived there for so many months. And he would observe how he would go into the temple room, Srila Prabhupada, with there was a harmonium, and he would sing this song, and he would weep. He would simply sing and weep, you see. And he witnessed this so many times. So, all of these Vaishnava songs, this is actually our sadhana. It is the gateway. Without singing these songs and becoming familiar in our heart with the meaning as much as we can appreciate, but really, this is the foundation of our sadhana, kirtan ras. So that's why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur established in Gaudiya Math the singing of kirtan, morning, evening, in krama, in sequence, like that. And we are also doing it. I appreciate so much this gathering here because there are so many of very sincere, very, matured Vaishnavas here. Most, at least 90% of the devotees here, they've all been practicing for many, many years and trying to follow in the footsteps of our acharyas and our Guru Varga. So this is a very special gathering. I appreciate so much that Ratikala Didi and Radhakanta Prabhu have invited for this weekend. I don't think that I've experienced such a combination of 2 days like this, before. So this is very nice, kind of like warming up for Radhastami, huh? Actually, Radhastami takes a lot of warming up. Really, at least 1 week should be there every night or morning or whenever. That devotees should read all the nectar. Like, one thing that inspires me very much is the 4th chapter of Adi Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita. And you know that our Gurudev also told this. He pointed out that unless you understand this 4th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, you will not be able to understand the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. You will not be able to. By this 4th chapter, you'll become equipped. Yes. And what is that equipping? That you know Radha Tattva. You know Krishna Tattva. You know Gaur Tattva. Why Mahaprabhu? What's his primary reason coming here into this world? He has primary and secondary reasons. Isn't this the topic that our Gurudev started with in his Western preaching? Huh? I know in America, Houston, then coming to LA, and then his whole rest of his US tour, reading and discussing the reasons for Mahaprabhu's descent, according to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And he began to read from practically the 1st chapter, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. But especially the 4th chapter. It's so wonderful. I just was reading it the last few days and trying to cram a little bit, take some inspiration from there. And when we kind of dive into the subject matters that Krishnadas Kaviraj is giving, especially when he's explaining the verse, Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vanayaiva Swadyo Yena Bhuta Madhurima Kidrisho Vamadiya Sokyam Chasyam Mad Anubhavata Kidrisham Veti Lobhat Tadbhavadya Samajani Sachi Garbha Sindho Hindu. The 3 special desires that Sri Krishna had. Now, you know, we sang a song in the beginning. One of the kirtans was sung, Jadi Gauranga Nahito, Tabe ki hoito, Kemone Dorito De. Radhar Mahima Prema Rasa Sima Jagate Janatoke. What is the meaning of this? If Gauranga Mahaprabhu had not come, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sri Maharaj used to like to quote this. Jadi Gauranga Nahito. In the mood of a Navadvipa Vasi. If he had not come, how could we live? How could we go on living? Kemone Dorito Day. If Gauranga had not come. That song, I forgot who is the author again? Narahari Thakur. So he's personal associate of Mahaprabhu. And he's expressing in this way that if Gauranga Mahaprabhu had not come, how could we go on living? Tabe ki hoito kemone dorito de. How would we maintain our lives? How would we go on living if Gauranga Mahaprabhu had not come? So then he says, what is this contribution of Sachinandan Gaur Hari Mahaprabhu? What did he contribute? He contributed that which has never been heard before in the universe. In the universe. And all other universes. Radhar Mahima Prema Rasa Sima. The Mahima, the ultimate glories of Srimati Radharani, Radhar Mahima, which is what? Prema Rasa Sima. The end limit of Prem Ras. If someone does not understand that about Srimati Radharani, that she is the ultimate limit of all Prem Ras, then they have not understood Gauranga Mahaprabhu and what he came to give. Because Jagate Janatoke, he's asking the question, is there anyone? Tell me, is there anyone in this universe? Jagate Janatoke, who ever knew about this topic that Gauranga Mahaprabhu has come to express? Never. You see? Even Srimad Bhagavatam is there. 10th canto is there. Previous acharyas, they have also appreciated Srimad Bhagavatam, and they have appreciated 10th canto, and they have appreciated the chapters of Ras Leela, Ras Panchadhyaya, and so forth. But who revealed the deep meanings of all of this? Did they understand before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came? No. Thousands of years had gone by. Srimad Bhagavatam had manifested. But until Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, no one understood the deepest inner meanings of Srimad Bhagavatam, which ultimately is the glories of Sri Radha and the Braja Gopis. Varaja Yuvati Bhavera Bhakati. What are the moods of the Braja Yuvatis? Varaja Yuvati Bhavera Bhakati. Could you? If the Mahaprabhu had not come, who would know what the moods that were expressed in the 10th canto? By the songs of the gopis. Who would understand that? If Gauranga Mahaprabhu had not come, the 6 Goswamis, his eternal associates, who are manjaris, the Ashtamanjaris, the 8 primary manjaris descending into this world, and the Ashtasakis also descending into this world in Gaur Leela, taking male forms and assisting him. All of that was opened up by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I remember when Gurudev used to tell like this, and at that time I didn't quite understand that prior to Mahaprabhu, no one understood these things. So who is Mahaprabhu? Who is he? Why did he come? What are his moods? If we want to understand Srimati Radharani and her Mahima, if we want to understand the Braja Gopis, yes, Madhura Vrinda, Vipina Madhuri, Pravesha Chaturi Sar. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not come, then Madhura Vrinda, that means who could have had the intelligence to join the sweet Madhur Ras of Sri Radha Krishna's Leelas in Vrindavan. Madhura Vrinda Vipin Madhuri. Who could have entered into the sweetness of all of those Leelas? Varaja Yuvati Bhavera Bhakati Shakati Hoy Tokar. Who else could have given the power to enter the Vraja Ramani's loving mood of seva to Jugal Kishore? Who? This question is asked again and again. But the answer is no one.
No one.
No one would have understood. So therefore, Narahari is telling, Gau Puna Puna Gaurangera Guna Sarala Hoya Man. Now all of you should again and again, you should sing Gaur, the Gaurangera Guna, the qualities, the glories of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And you should do this with a very simple heart. Sarala Hoya Man. In your mind, very simple, no duplicity, very humble. Just sing the glories of Gaura. Ebhava Sagare. Eva Basagare means in this ocean of material existence. Emona Doyal. Nadeki Je Ekajan. No one has seen, not one single person has seen such doyal, such mercy being given as is given by Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So he ends his song with a lamentation. Gauranga Bolia Naguna Genu Galia Kemone Dorinu De Narahari Hiya Pashana Dia Kemone Goriache. So he's telling, oh, Gauranga Balia, even though I chant Gauranga's name, I chant his qualities and his pastimes, I'm doing this, but my heart has not melted. Na Genu Galia. So, Kemone Dori Nude, how do I continue to maintain the burden of this body? My heart has not melted. So, Narahari Hiya Pashanadiya. How is it that the Lord has created the body of Narahari and giving a stone in place of a heart? Huh? A stone in place of a heart. Kemone Goriache. How is this possible? So, to know Srimati Radharani's glories, we will have to hear, as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has introduced this topic in the 4th chapter. And not just her glories, the glories of the Vraja Yuvatis, the glories of the eternal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, on this day of Lalita Saptami, then we are hearing about Lalita Devi, and we are also hearing somewhat about Swarup Damodar Goswami. But if Swarup Damodar Goswami had not appeared in this world, if Ramananda Roy had not appeared in this world, in Gaur Leela, who are none other than the two most intimate Sakhis of Srimati Radhika. Who are they? Lalita and Vishaka. And for the last 18 years of Mahaprabhu's presence in the Vipralamba Dham, yes, of Sri Jagannath Puri, day and night, 24 hours a day. Those two were with Mahaprabhu personally. And what were they doing? How were they assisting? How was Lalita and Vishaka in Gaur Leela assisting this person, this golden personality who has taken the Bhav and Kanti of Srimati Radhika, who is trying to dive so deep into the endless ocean of her separation moods, day and night, day and night. Even Srimati Radharani came to assist in the form of Sri Gadadhar Pandit. And there at Tota Gopinath, Mahaprabhu would come daily and he would sit with Gadadhar in very seclusion. And what would Gadadhar read to Mahaprabhu? Srimad Bhagavatam. And Gadadhar would show, he would open up the whole moods of the Bhagavatam for Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu would be witnessing this. Why did he need to do that? Why did Mahaprabhu need to sit with Gadadhar? Because Gadadhar is Radha, and only Radha can reveal all these deepest truths of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, like Gurudev, when we went to the Tota Gopinath temple, he said, here, she is the, the leader of a university.
Principal? Headmaster?
Like the headmaster, the principal. She is the principal.
Dean.
The dean, yes, that's the word I was looking for. So, then, in the association of the dean of this domain of Srimati Radhika's moods, of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there Mahaprabhu heard, and then he did his homework. What was his homework?
Gambhira.
In the Gambhira, he would be using what guidance he received. And then he needed to help navigate through this ocean where there are towering waves crashing, and like Srila Prabhupada's journey across on the Jaladuta we were reading about. Big, huge waves coming. So that was the homework as Krishna is now doing his homework. Assisted by who? He's assisted by the two personalities who know everything, all the moods of Srimati Radhika. And it's described by Krishnadas Kaviraj that Mahaprabhu was weeping and weeping, and he had his hands on the two necks of Ramananda Roy and Sarup Damodar Goswami, and they are singing different songs. They're singing different shlokas. They're augmenting all of Mahaprabhu's moods and steering him through this towering waves of Srimati Radhika's prem. And we heard in Antya-lila how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the middle of the night, sometimes when he was so-called resting, he would escape somehow, even though there were groups of doors that were locked. But then they would come, and then he's not here. And then in the middle of the night, they'd go searching for him. And they found him in front of the Singhadwara gate. And all of his limbs were elongated, disjointed, like 12 feet long, foaming at the mouth. And they brought him back from that. There's so many descriptions in Antya-lila, how they searched for him, couldn't find him, then they went along the ocean front. And that incident of the fishermen who they found had gone mad. And then Sarup Damodar, he said, oh yes, here's the signal now. This person has gone completely mad. And he slapped him. And he said, show us. And then because he had pulled something into his boat that was glowing. It was like a big mass. And he said, when I touched it, I went mad and I began to chant, Hari, Hari, Hari. So then Sarup Damodar, lead us, show us. Then they found Mahaprabhu like tortoise, limbs inside of body. And then they began kirtan. And then Mahaprabhu came back to normal, like this. Srila Gurudev told, it is not written explicitly in Srimad Bhagavatam, Gurudev told, because it would be too painful for the devotees to hear. But what Mahaprabhu showed externally by his physical body being practically torn apart, Srimati Radhika in her separation moods, she also went through that. So this is Gauranga Mahaprabhu's contribution to this world. No one would know unless Mahaprabhu had come, unless he had given all the necessary instructions and pastimes and so forth. So, the 4th chapter of the Adi Leela describes in such a wonderful way about the prema of Srimati Radhika. And Krishna, he is trying to understand this. He wants to experience this prema of Srimati Radhika. And he understands that his position is Vishaya. Vishaya means he's the object of everyone's prema. From his position, he cannot experience, he cannot taste Srimati Radhika's moods. There are 3 specific desires that Krishna had to taste Srimati Radhika's moods and prema. You know what those 3 are? Yes. Yes, it's from Swarup Damodar Goswami. And actually, all the verses except for Anarpita Chirim Chirat are from Swarup Damodar Goswami. All the other verses are from Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikutir and so forth. Yes. So that verse that we all chanted together, Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Ki Drisho Vanayaiva. Here, I want to read it to you from Chaitanya Charitamrita. I have to find it.
I understand.
Yes.
The glories of Radharani's love.
Okay. So, whatever pleasure, this is Krishna telling, whatever pleasure I get from tasting my love for Srimati Radharani, she tastes 10 million times more than me by her love. Koti guna radha prema asvad. Koti guna. Koti means 10 million. So Krishna is saying, she's tasting 10 million times. He says, just as I am the abode of all mutually contradictory characteristics. So, Radha's love is always full of similar contradictions. What are they? Now he's telling. Radha's love is all-pervading. It's already all-pervading, right? And it's leaving no room for expansion because it's already all-pervading.
But it's still expanding.
But still, it is expanding constantly. Huh?
Increasing.
Yeah. Is always increasing and expanding,
Contradiction.
even though it's already expanded to the ultimate limit. That's called Radhara Mahima.
That's a contradiction also.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a contradiction.
It's full of contradiction.
Then he says, there is certainly nothing greater than her love. But her love is devoid of pride. There's nothing greater but there is no pride. Huh?
Nirmal.
That is the sign of its greatness. You see? Then he says, nothing is purer than her love. Nothing is purer than her love. But its behavior, the behavior of her love is always perverse and crooked. Huh? Yes. It's called Vamya. I can't read with my eyes.
Krishna, no.
Vamya Vakra. Oh yes, Vamya Vakra Vyavadhar. So that means perverse, Vamya, crooked, Vakra, Vyavahar. Her behavior. So her love is pure, but yet it's very crooked, kutila. In other places told like the movement of a snake. A snake does not move straight. You'll never see it's always zigzag, right? So Srimati Radhika's love is like that. Then he quotes a verse. This is quoted from the Dan Keli Komudi of Srila Rupa Goswami. All glories to Radha's love for Krishna, the enemy of the demon Mura. Although it is all-pervading, it tends to increase at every moment. Although it is important, it is devoid of pride. And although it is pure, it is always beset with duplicity. So, Sri Radhika is the highest abode of that love. And I am its only object. Krishna knows this. I am the object, but she is the only abode. She is the ashray. He says here, Se premara Shri Radhika parama ashray. Of that prem, she is the supreme shelter and abode. Se premar ami hoi kevala vishai. But I am the object of that. So then he says, I taste the bliss to which the object of love is entitled. Because I'm Vishai, I taste. That's my domain. I can taste the bliss of the object. But the pleasure of Radha, the abode of that love, is 10 million times greater. And here, now Krishna is expressing his dilemma. He's saying, my mind races to taste the pleasure experienced by the abode, but I cannot taste it. Even by my best efforts, well, how may I taste it? So then he realizes, Krishna realizes, if sometime I can be the abode of that love, only then may I taste its joy. So thinking in this way, Lord Krishna was curious to taste that love. His eager desire for that love increasingly blazed in his heart. So that is one desire. Now please hear another.
To know the greatness of her love.
Yes. Shiradhaya Pranaya Mahima. Yes. So that is one desire. Now please hear of another. Seeing his own beauty, Lord Krishna began to consider. He says, my sweetness is wonderful, infinite, and full. No one in the three worlds can find its limit. Only Radhika, by the strength of her love, she tastes all the nectar of my sweetness. Although Radha's love is pure like a mirror, its purity increases at every moment. My sweetness also has no room for expansion, yet it shines before that mirror in newer and newer beauty. There is constant competition between my sweetness and the mirror of Radha's love. They both go on increasing, but neither knows defeat. You've read this before.
I think we all have, but it's
Yeah.
ever fresh.
Yes.
Sweet nectar.
So he says, my sweetness is always newer and newer. We can't imagine that in this world. There's nothing in this world. Nothing. It's completely the opposite, is it not?
Yes.
It just grows old fast, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So, my sweetness is always newer and newer, and devotees taste it according to their own respective love. If I see my sweetness in a mirror, I am tempted to taste it, but nevertheless, I cannot. And if I deliberate on a way to taste it, I find that I hanker for the position of
Srimati
Radhika. Position of who?
Srimati Radhika.
Yes.
Jai Jai Sri Radhe.
Hey! So now there's a famous verse being quoted about in the Lalita Madhava of Rupa Goswami, where Krishna sees his own beauty, his own reflection in a jeweled fountain in Dwarka. So this is the verse where Krishna is telling, who manifests an abundance of sweetness greater than mine, which has never been experienced before, and which causes wonder to all? Alas, I myself, my mind, bewildered upon seeing this beauty, impetuously desires to enjoy it, like Srimati Radharani. So now Krishna has had this awakening inside of him, that as I'm seeing this, I want to experience and enjoy it like Radharani. Now the beauty of Krishna has one natural strength. Natural strength. It thrills the heart of all men and women, beginning with Lord Krishna himself. Yes. This is the special natural strength of Krishna's beauty. It thrills the hearts of all men and women, and beginning with Krishna himself. All minds, all people's minds are attracted by hearing his sweet voice and flute, or by seeing his beauty. Even Lord Krishna himself makes efforts to taste that sweetness. The thirst of one who always drinks the nectar of that sweetness is never satisfied. Ooh. That's a big one. That's difficult. They have such thirst, but even though they fully drink the draught of Krishna's sweetness, they are not satisfied. Rather than being satisfied, that thirst increases constantly. Such a person, being unsatisfied, begins to blaspheme Lord Brahma, saying that he does not know the art of creating well, and he is simply inexperienced. So who is expressing that?
The gopis.
Yes. They're saying he has not given millions of eyes to see the beauty of Krishna. He has given only 2 eyes, and even those eyes blink. So how then shall I see the lovely face of Krishna? You need 1,000,000 eyes to do that. This person whose thirst is never quenched is, I need 1,000,000 eyes. But even these 2 eyes, They're even worse. They blink. Yes, he doesn't know how to create this Brahma. So then the gopis say, this is a verse also spoken by the gopis in the Ras Leela chapter. The gopis said, Atati yad bhavan annikananam trutir gayate tvama pashyatam kutila kuntalam shrimukam chate jada udikshatam pakshma kridrisham. Here in this house, they're chanting every day, whole Gopi Geet. Yes. For a long time already. So now in this verse, the gopis are telling about this point. They say, Oh Krishna, when you go to the forest during the day, and we do not see your sweet face, which is surrounded by beautiful curling hair, half a second becomes as long as an entire yuga for us. And we consider the Creator, who has put eyelids on the eyes that we use for seeing you, to be simply a fool. Yes. Then, there's another verse from the 82nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, describing how the gopis saw Krishna at Kurukshetra. The gopis saw their beloved Krishna at Kurukshetra after a long separation. They secured and embraced him in their hearts through their eyes. And they attained a joy so intense that not even perfect yogis can attain it. The gopis cursed the Creator for creating eyelids that interfered with their vision. So now Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he's saying, there is no consummation for the eyes other than the sight of Krishna. There is no consummation for the eyes other than the sight of Krishna. Whoever sees him is most fortunate indeed. Then he quotes another verse from the Venugit chapter, where the gopis are expressing what is the ultimate attainment for the eyes. They're saying, Akshan vatam phalamidam naparam vidama sakya pashun anuviveshayator vayasyai vaktram vrajesha sutayor anuvenu jushtam yairva nipitam anurakta kataksha moksham. So the gopis said, Oh friends, those eyes that see the beautiful faces of the sons of Maharaj Nanda are certainly fortunate. As these two sons enter the forest, surrounded by their friends, driving the cows before them, they hold their flutes to their mouths, and they glance lovingly upon the residents of Vrindavan. For those who have eyes, we think there is no greater object of vision. And then one more verse is quoted from the 44th chapter. When Krishna enters the wrestling arena of Kamsa, and who is seeing him for the first time? In the various seats in the arena. The Mathura Ramanis, yes. They've heard about him, but they've never seen him yet. And now he's walking in. And as you know, when Krishna is walking into the arena, many different categories of people are seeing him. But guess what? They all see him in a different way according to their own conception and their relationship with him. Like the yogis, they're seeing, oh, here's the Paramatma coming, walking into this arena. Huh? So, there's the women of Mathura, they're saying, Gopyastapak kimacharam yadamushya rupam lavanya saram asamordvamananya siddham drigbi pipan pibanti anusara biram durapam ekanta dhamma yashasha shriya aishwarasya. So the women of Mathura said, what austerities must the gopis have performed? With their eyes, they are always drink the nectar of the form of Lord Krishna, which is the essence of loveliness and is not to be equated or surpassed. That loveliness is the only abode of beauty, fame, and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh, and extremely rare. So the sweetness of Lord Krishna is unprecedented. And its strength is also unprecedented. And simply by one's hearing of such beauty, the mind becomes unsteady. Lord Krishna's own beauty attracts Lord Krishna himself. But because he cannot fully enjoy it, his mind remains full of sorrow. Ho, ho, ho. Is Krishna going to remain full of sorrow? No. Why not? Why is he not going to remain full of sorrow?
He'll have his desires fulfilled.
Well, how is that going to happen?
He's going to come and
That's
sweet.
his mind.
Yes, that's right. Because Krishna can do the impossible. He can make the impossible possible, right? Even though it's literally impossible. But he can make it possible. Krishna can do that. And Patiyasi. And Krishna is Rasika
Shekhar.
Shekhar.
Connoisseur of Ras.
Not just the connoisseur, the ultimate, the most expert taster of ras in the whole creation, right?
Yes.
He's made of ras.
Yes.
His body is made of ras. So, and his only business is tasting ras. Everything else is secondary.
Wow.
Rasika Shekhar Krishna. But because he's also Parama Karunya, supremely merciful, he wants to also give this opportunity to all the jivas. So,
Prem Ras Niryas.
yes, Korite Asmadam. So Lord Krishna's own beauty attracts Lord Krishna himself. But because he cannot fully enjoy it, his mind remains full of sorrow. This is a description of his second desire. Now please listen as I describe the third.
It's 7:43.
So how many? What time is it now?
7:43.
Is what?
7:43.
Okay.
17 minutes more.
Okay. So I'll just go a little further, and then tomorrow, on Radhastami Day, we will hear a lot more nectar.
Haribol.
Don't miss it. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying that this is the description of his second desire. Now, please listen as I describe the third. This conclusion of rasa is extremely deep. Extremely deep. And Swarup Damodar knows much about it. Jai Swarup Damodar Goswami Pada Ki Jai. Jai Lalita Devi Ashtasaki Ki Jai. And anyone else who claims to know it must have heard it from Swarup Damodar Goswami. For he was the most intimate companion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the love of the gopis, it is called Rudha Bhav. Rudha Bhav. It is pure and spotless. The love of all the gopis is pure and spotless. It is not at any time lust. Not even the slightest tinge. The pure love of the gopis has become celebrated by the name Kam, which means lust. The dear devotees of the Lord, headed by Sri Uddhava, they desire to taste that love. Lust and love have different characteristics, just as iron and gold have different natures. And what is the difference here? Here's the big verse. Atmendriya priti vansha tari bole kam, Krishnendriya priti icha dhare prem nam. The desire to gratify one's own senses is called lust, kam. But the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna, what is that?
Love.
Prem. That is called prem. The object of lust is only the enjoyment of one's own senses, but love caters to the enjoyment of Lord Krishna, and thus it is very powerful. This is a text spoken by the gopis in the Ras Leela when Krishna left. They're saying, "Oh dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only in you. Our minds, therefore, are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest path." So the gopis, they do not care for their own pleasures or pains. All their physical and mental activities are directed toward offering enjoyment to Lord Krishna. They renounced everything for Krishna. They have pure attachment to giving Krishna pleasure. So in this way, Krishnadas Kaviraj, he's leading us into understanding the third desire. And that is a very in-depth study of how the gopis have no personal desire whatsoever. Not a single tiny little tinge of desire to satisfy themselves. But still there's a quandary. Because what happens when the gopis, through their pure love, when they direct that towards Krishna and they see Krishna through that lens of their pure love, they become filled with millions of times more happiness. Krishna's noticing this. They're experiencing millions of times more. But they have no desire for personal happiness. This is the contradictory thing, you see. So we'll go into that tomorrow on Sri Radhastami Day. We're so fortunate to hear about the glories of Lalita Devi on her appearance day, the most intimate associate of Srimati Radharani and the guru of all the Sakhis. And one last thing is this point that you brought up. And also, Pujapad Bodhayan Maharaj brought this up. That our greatest hope, and our hope lies in this particular quality and characteristic of Srimati Lalita Devi. What is that? That she is always searching in Braj. In her eternal pastimes, she's always searching in Braj. And if she finds any young maiden who has even the slightest inclination toward her Swamini, Srimati Radhika, she immediately becomes so mercifully inclined toward that person, and she brings that person directly to Srimati Radhika, and she presents that person to her and says, "This person has a strong desire to be engaged in your service. You please accept him. You must, you please accept her. You must accept her." And because of the influence of Swarup Damodar Goswami, who's compared to the Prime Minister, she has that authority. and Srimati Radhika becomes melted by the recommendation of Srimati Lalita Devi. So that's why Lalita Devi appeared as Swarup Damodar Goswami. He's the head of this whole Rupanuga Sampradaya. It is called the Swarup Rupa Sampradaya. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoive Akuti Kamehama Bhujhabose Jugala Priti. Without Rupa and Raghunath Das Goswami, who learned everything from Swarup Damodar Goswami, we would never be able to understand Bhujabose Jugala Priti. What is the loving affairs, the transcendental loving affairs of Radha and Krishna? Yes, that's Rupa Goswami who is giving this. But we always have to remember, Rupa Goswami is in the Gana of Swarup Damodar Goswami and Lalita Devi. Gaur Premanandi. Jai Srimati Lalita Devi ki jai. Lalita Saptami ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.
So dear devotees, we're going to have Sundar Arti, then Prashad. Anyone who's not coming tomorrow, there are, how many tulsis? We have like a dozen tulsis in the back that Madhavi brought. Beautiful, nice, healthy, smaller size tulsis. If anybody wants tulsi, please take it with you tonight, okay? Lord Premanandi. Also, when we take prasad after kirtan, we have some seating here. We have some seating in the breakfast nook, and outside there's also tables. So feel free to sit in all these places.